So I'm happy to talk about a couple of the things you touched on, kind of maybe give you some updates of what the center is doing. You guys definitely threw a lot out there. You've done your research. You know what's going on. There's a couple things I can talk about, maybe some updates I can give you. Try and do it a little bit in the order. We work Catholic Relief Services. You mentioned, and you mentioned as well. We work very closely with CRS. They do great work. They're part of the overall umbrella, a little bit of this group called Interaction, which I'm sure you might be familiar with. They're an umbrella group of NGOs that we work very closely with them because of the work they do can be very powerful. The center, as I'm sure you know, is on the Foreign Relations Committee, but he's also the chairman of the subcommittee, and it's a long title, International Development, Foreign Assistance, International Economic Affairs, Environmental Protection. So a lot of this stuff, all foreign assistance falls under our jurisdiction. So we've taken an initiative over the last year, and these are some of the things that really interest him, the things you brought up. When we talked about modernizing our foreign assistance, one of the people we brought up was Ken Hackett, the president of CRS. And he testified in a hearing that we held in July, along with some other kind of experts in the field. And so that he gave really good perspective of where our foreign assistance needs to go and about how we need to be balancing more our development with priorities with our short-term security assistance kind of priorities, which seems to have been overbalanced a little bit in that field. In terms of the Farm Bill, again, I don't specifically handle the domestic side of the Farm Bill. That's more of our environmental, but I mean, having worked here as a team, we're trying to get that pushed through as possible. And if there is a veto threat or a veto, we're going to work hard with our colleagues to try and override that because it is really important. It does do good work. But in continuing on foreign and international food assistance, because we'd worked that, we just signed on to a letter actually to Senators Byrd and Cochran on the Appropriations Committee, and then specifically to Cole and Bennett, who are the subcommittee on agriculture, asking them to increase the shortfall, to compensate for the shortfall and for the $200 million. And so we're pushing for that too. We signed on this letter on March 6th actually, to try and get that through because it's important, and the consequences of not addressing this issue far outweigh the $200 million.
Definitely,
to be honest,
really
I mean,
does.
the consequences are so spread out and can touch so many different things. Specifically, for example, we're dealing with I hesitate to call it a crisis, but we've got some New Jersey constituents who are on a healthcare mission in Haiti who are kind of stranded right now because of riots and strikes because of lack of food shortage. So I mean, it's just the consequences of it can be touched in everything, in Al Qaeda and terrorism and in stability. I mean, it's very, very important. So that's what helped push us onto this letter, and we're going to fight for that they get that increased funding. In terms of the safe box we were talking about, I think that's kind of honestly, when you think about it, as a no-brainer idea. Yeah. The problem is when dealing with the current situation is everything appropriations and budget-wise is a zero-sum game. If you're going to put money there, you're taking it out somewhere else. And the Iraq War, to be honest, has consumed so much of our budget that I feel like we have so little left to play with. And so that's why, we just pushed for a hearing. We just had a hearing with Crocker Petraeus from Iraq on Tuesday. We were pushing them, hey, let's have the Iraqis start shouldering some of their reconstruction efforts. There's billions of dollars of oil revenue. Let's have them start paying for a little bit more so then we can kind of start pushing a little more of our domestic priorities here at home. So yeah, I think that's a good idea, and we need to push for that. And it's a good visual. In terms of PEPFAR, this is something we've worked a lot on. It's very important. It's one of the few success stories in foreign assistance, we feel like, for the last 7 years. The center's often quoted that. He chaired a full committee hearing on it in October, I think it was, to try and frame it in a larger picture and help get it passed. It passed through the committee. We supported it. It's now up to the $50 million level, which is great.
I was actually, when I was here in D.C. last week, two of SESTAC's staffers took me to the House side. I was actually there watching them pass H.R. 5501.
Oh, yeah?
And I looked it up later on. I was like, wait, that sounds familiar. And that was the increase to PEPFAR. I was just amazed that there was history right there, right before my eyes.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, because it is a program that works, and you can see tangible results from it.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, it does face some roadblocks. In fact, I found out this morning that there's a hold on it. senators have the right to put a hold on a piece of legislation, meaning that they'll hold it over as pretty much a threat of a filibuster, if you will. There's a couple arguments against it. It's a very select, minor few in the Senate that object to it, and they're the fiscal conservatives, very, very fiscal conservatives. They don't want to increase any spending almost on anything. So I think right now, the fact that it's unbelievable because there is actually, it's one of the few times it's a administration idea plan, but it has overwhelmingly majority support in Congress. So it's one of those things that it should go through. There's no reason why it shouldn't. So right now what we're working on is trying to get past that small few of senators, the fiscal conservatives, and we got to just keep working on that so it gets through, because it expires soon, and it does so much for us internationally too. I mean, it really. This morning I had a meeting with HIV infected women from Uganda actually, and they were talking about this program and how much it means to their country, and so that is a priority to get that through, because what it can do. Let's see what else. You brought up Iraq refugees. I mean, if you did a project, you probably know as much, if not more, than I do on the subject. But it's.
I know.
There's millions displaced.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do, and I mean that's something that was actually brought up in a hearing on Tuesday.
Not many people really, they know about it, but little action is being taken. So.
Right. And I think there's an article this morning about how the Swiss are having to close their doors now to Iraq refugees. I just saw that this morning, I think in the Washington Post. But I mean, that's one of the biggest hurdles in terms of a state creating a stable Iraq, is creating stability so they can return to their place and have jobs and have an income and have a stable economy, and that.
There was an Iraqi refugee, actually. He said he would go to Darfur before he'd go back to Iraq.
Wow.
Yeah, so it just paints a little picture of how bad.
Number one, most internationally displaced peoples are from Iraq, if I'm not mistaken. I think number two is like Colombia or something, but I think number one is Iraq. So that's a huge obstacle. And then you brought up the Global Poverty Act, which we're on and we support.
Very
the
happy.
Millennium Development Goals as well. So those are important. We helped get that out of committee recently.
Nice.
So those are all things that we support. It's nice when you have meetings like that. I mean, you've obviously done your research and you have persuasive arguments, and there's nothing we don't so far. But I feel like
very nice.
Not every meeting's like this. Trust me. We sometimes get other views, but it's good to hear that you're advocating for these things that are important, and that you've done your research and you're reaching out to people on the Hill. And it's good for us to know that people from New Jersey, and especially students, are pushing for these types of things. Kind of reinforces us up here to push harder for them.
I know we're all just thrilled to hear that you guys are also supportive of these issues, since we've been studying them so closely, and they've just really become issues that are really close to our heart and that we've really grown to care about over the semester. So it's just absolutely great to hear that you guys are on board with them and that we're all kind of on the same page, I guess.
No, it is. Have you guys studied abroad? What year are you guys in? Juniors. So are you guys thinking about going abroad, studying abroad at all?
We're not going abroad, but the people that, I've been working on in Africa, and we're working on a documentary right now on it, and we want to go to Africa so bad. After hearing everything and talking to everyone and all the things being done, that's, we would love to go to Africa. So that's, our goal, to get to Africa someday. Because every story you hear, there's so many, good stories you hear all the time, everyone we called, they'll be like, this is happening. And then you hear about, the horrible things, too. And, after hearing that, and then you hear someone helping, you just want to go and, help.
And try and help, exactly. So
we even have those trips to, Ecuador and stuff like that, just service trips.
Take advantage of those.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend hopping on board those as much as possible. But it's good that, I feel like, you guys are kind of not really youth, I don't feel like anymore, but you have a global conscious.
Yeah, and then we also went to New Orleans
for Habitat
for Humanity for rebuilding.
So it's national, but it's within it's global
thing.
Helping. So
great. Do you have any questions for me? Anything you want to know about the senator? Any other issues you'd like to know?
I think we're good.
He's doing good?
So?
He's doing good?
I like that he's talked about the pet bar and how we pushed for that, and how you said it was refreshing to hear that, that we're kind of sticking up behind you and telling you, like, yeah, this is what we're fighting for, because it's kind of refreshing for us to hear that you actually care what students have to say.
Well, the senator wants to know too.
Yeah.
It's not just me.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's, when we kind of talk about what hearings we want to hold or what we should do, we talk about a lot of different reasons, because there's so many different topics we could hold hearings on or speak about. We have to choose, and we're like, all right, well, what have you heard about from groups in New Jersey? Where is this on the radar? So it's good to hear things like this.
No, you said there's a hold. How long do the holds usually last?
Want the good news or the bad news?
Yeah.
The good news, they could end any minute. The bad news, they could last forever.
Really? Okay.
So it's a strategy. I mean, it goes. It's all done kind of behind doors now. There needs to be. It depends on how important this is, and the PEPFAR bill specifically is a priority not only for the president but for the leadership offices, for McConnell, for Reid, for Biden, Senators Biden and Lugar, who are the chairman and the ranking member of the committee. So I think they've got a significant amount of leverage and clout and prioritize this issue that they can work on these senators to get something make something happen. I'm optimistic that something will happen.
And when did it go on hold? Do you know the
This
date?
morning.
Just this morning.
This is
Okay.
when it
Because
first
I was
got
wondering why I didn't hear
Press,
anything about
press
it.
hasn't even picked up on that yet.
Yeah.
It's been circulated internally.
Wow.
And yeah, don't.
And what does
Well,
it take for something to go on hold? Like how many people?
A letter.
Just one letter? One.
Yeah, just a letter to the leadership office.
Just
saying,
one.
yeah, I do not.
From one
put-
senator?
It can be from as much as one senator. That's how it was set up.
Mhm.
I mean, the House is, the representative of the population, whereas the Senate is very individual. Like, the amount of power that one senator has is significant, and they can hold up one entire piece of legislation.
Wow.
So then it comes down to, say it is one person.
This is a
it comes
couple
down
more.
to, say there's, I don't know, just
Mhm.
5. Do you have to get all 5 of them to not hold it in order for it to go through?
Yeah.
Okay. So every single person needs to be in agreement for it
Yeah.
to not.
For example, I'll give you an example of actually a
Okay.
hold that Senator Menendez did 2 years ago. Are you guys familiar with the country Armenia?
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's been a strong proponent of Turkey acknowledges that there was a genocide in Armenia, and the president nominated an ambassador, Richard Hoagland was his name, to be the ambassador to Armenia, but Hoagland was considered a genocide denier. He said there's no genocide in Armenia. We need to get past this and work with Turkey. So the senator actually held up his nomination until the administration removed his name. And so now, currently, unfortunately, right now, the bad side is that there's not an ambassador to Armenia right now. But we're working on trying to get somebody in there who kind of acknowledges and works with these issues. So that's an example of Senator Menendez using his hold ability.
And then do people approach Senator Menendez over it to try
Oh,
and
yeah. State
persuade
Department,
him to
State
take
Department
off the
came
hold?
very hard on us.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a lot of work. I think the leadership, the president's going to be working a lot with these senators to try and get something through. I'm optimistic something.
Okay.
will go
I was
through.
just trying to